And we are back.
We are. Welcome to Pound for Pound, the number one podcast on the planet. Finn's got a question, apparently.
Ooh,
I know you've done prep.
I know.
Harry's done
No,
prep.
I have not. I have opened the prep file that Harry Robinson has done great work with. But here's Finn, who apparently would have liked the hours. Finn?
I was just thinking the other day, it's a kind of stand-up-y question.
We do stand up,
Yeah.
don't we?
We've been doing it for a while.
So obviously this is
Good that he's asking us this, actually.
this isn't particularly comparable, but like when I do my gigs, I can often feel after it a bit weird because you get all the adrenaline and then you just go home. How have you guys like dealt with that? I'm curious.
Well, can I just say, Finn, excellent question there.
Good question.
Only
For
took-
two stand-up comedians, that's well within our wheelhouse.
Oh, well, interesting. It's not a question that feels...
Why is it called a wheelhouse? Why is it your
Well,
wheelhouse?
good question. We're not going to answer it. Finn, could you ignore the question? Yeah, well, that's, I think, part of the reason that a lot of comics have an issue with booze
Yeah.
is what do you do if the highest point of your day is... Can we turn the TV off? Because it really is... Thanks very much. Thank you. I'll take the question again. Yeah, because you're hyped up. If you're a headliner... You come off stage at what? 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It's Friday, Saturday night. You're staying in some fucking hotel round the corner. That's where boozing comes, isn't it? Because you're riding high.
And on top of that, there's a lot of comics who have issues with soliciting prostitutes because after that high, the only way to sort of release and be able to go to sleep is to come.
Yeah. And that's why I'm not allowed back in
Okay,
Cardiff.
I'm going to try that after my gigs. Thank you.
Whoa. Sometimes I'm straight back in the car, and that first bit of the drive is a weird bit where you can't concentrate on a podcast. I've found that. You're still sort of, not that like, I think when you've been going a while, you're not like, whoa, that was amazing, because the longer you do anything.
I'm like that during my set sometimes. Like, I do a joke, get a laugh, and I just do that.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I find the drive sometimes a bit, like I'm still a bit wired on the drive, and I can't just instantly put a pod on. Like my head's still ticking. I've heard other comics say that that's an amazing time to write. I've heard one comic say it, that's the energy they, like after a gig, they go back and they like...
That's Scott.
No, it was, what's that old Scottish comic called? Stu Who. I was remember when I was starting out, and he was like, yeah, because I don't think he was a massive
I can't remember the
boozer.
surname now.
Who? Was he an owl?
Thumbs up there for the audio listeners. But yeah, so what do you do with it? What do you do? Are you pretty leveled off straight away?
No, I'm awake for a while. I just go on my phone, or like if I'm in a different city, I'll go back to the hotel, put a bit of stand-up on often, or like a bit of sitcom, just scroll on my phone and whatever, and just try and relax. It normally takes me a few hours to calm down. If I'm out with other people, I like doing a gig for a night out and then going out.
Because it's like...
Yeah. But I think also
bump.
it's very similar, apparently. The high of performing is similar to the high of cocaine. So you want a drug that, if you're going to do drugs and you want to level out, you need like
a bit of weed.
Smack or something, yeah.
Always the smack.
No, I think it is smack. That's the antidote.
Well, it's a downer, isn't it?
Well, if you...
Probably 2 down now, innit?
Depends how good the gig's gone.
1 up, 2 down.
Yeah. If you've just had a normal gig, bit of weed, if you've got a standing ovation, smack your bitch up.
Yeah.
Facts. Here you go, Finn.
Just straight facts.
Go gig, get some smack.
Straight heroin facts. How do you find it?
I just find
it
it
buzzing after a gig.
Yeah. So it's weird that you go back, and I've always found that it's weird that I'll play to like 70 people and they'll be like cheering, doing one more song, and then I'll go home on my own and be like, oh, it's a bit shit.
Well, it's the immediate solitude after performing for an audience is genuinely, I think, why I wanted to study this, or suggest that someone else studies it, I suppose, a few years ago. A lot of performers are mentally ill. And I don't know whether that's because mentally ill people are drawn to performing, or whether performing causes some mental illness.
And then a dangerous combo of two sometimes.
Yeah.
Where you're already mental and then it really makes you more.
Like, I think the immediate, the idea, especially like once you get to the point you're selling tickets on your own name. So like this tour we're about to do, that we're both doing, that we've been talking about in the first half. going on stage in front of, so Nottingham tomorrow for me is 350 people. And after the show, 100 will stay and ask for a picture and they'll want to chat and whatever. And they want me to go out with them, but I can't be going out for a drink every night because I'll just be shit at all my shows. So then going from that and being literally, especially as a solo artist, as a comedian or a musician, going from being the most loved person with every single person in the room, oh my God, it's this guy, to then being sat on your own in a silent hotel room. I think the juxtaposition of that, it's such a staggering difference. I think that's quite bad for anyone's mental health. To go from the high of everyone in the room, not only knowing who you are, but adoring you, to literally being sat on your own or dealing with a fucking check-in desk at a hotel where they're rude to you because they don't give a fuck who you are. Like, not that they should or they need to, but it's such a stark difference between those two situations. And I think that big high followed by a very big low is like, not to sort of trivialize mental illness, it's got to be similar to what people who have bipolar, like on a very small scale, suffer with a massive bit of mania followed by genuine like depression.
It's a come down, isn't it? Essentially,
Literally.
But then some people don't want that come down. Everything that Adam's articulated there is what some people go, oh no, so I will go out for the drinks.
Yeah,
some comics have been brilliantly talented and haven't wanted that solitude and that reality and that just harsh loneliness after the elation of being everyone's favorite person in a room. And they go out with that. Like how we went out after the roast into Pop World is a one-off. We'll do it again one day, but it's not every live show. And God forbid it would be after every tour show. I think I think you'd unravel a little bit because it's so unhealthy. You're everyone's best friend and you don't know anyone. Like that's fine if you can. Some people are social enough that they can do that. I can do that once in a while. I can be out, make some mates. If that is your every night after a tour show or a gig, if you're out with people who think you're great because it's the elevated status of we've just seen you perform, and you're with them, like if you haven't got the grounding of a family or best friends or like lads on with you on tour that you know, like you've got your mate tour managing or your support act who you know, I think you could get lost in your own bullshit there. I think that's quite a dangerous route to go down. And it famously wasn't it, for guys like Kinnison in the States and all of those rock and roll comics. They were doing coke. They were on blow till God knows what time. They were going out.
Gandhi.
They were going out with people from the shows and just when does it ever stop? If you're gigging every night.
There's also a romanticization, for lack of the actual word, of other comics about that lifestyle as well. So have you seen Adam Sandler's stand-up special, 100% Fresh, on Netflix?
No.
So to be honest with you, and I'm not proud of this, but I'm just going to be honest, I watched it sort of intending to hate it. I was like, oh, Adam Sandler doing a thing, this will be a bit meh. He's just doing it because he's bored of films.
And he was a stand-up, wasn't he? He started out as a stand-up. Years, like early 90s, he was a stand-up.
Yeah. And it's absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
I loved it.
Is it a new one? Like a recent?
It's about 2 or 3 years old. And it's a lot of musical comedy. He's doing it it's not parodies, it's original stuff. They're short, quick songs. But the longest song in it is a tribute to Chris Farley, who was a big Saturday Night Live guy, Adam Sandler's best friend, and died young because he liked partying too much. He's a big fat guy and, it just got the better of him. And there's a line in the song where he says, we told him, slow down, buddy. You'll end up like Belushi and Gandhi. And he said, well, those guys are my heroes. That's all fine and dandy. Like, there is a thing of like live fast and free sort of thing.
Yeah.
Live fast, die young.
Yeah.
Bad girls do it well.
When I started out in comedy, the guys who were really letting it hang out were the guys I looked up to most.
Yeah.
Like Jim Jeffries would come and get fucking smashed. And I thought he was just a hero. I remember working with Tom Stade early doors and thinking like, oh, this guy is so fucking rock and roll. Glenn Wool was cool as fuck, just getting hammered on brandy and telling me stories about Rich Hall. And we've talked about like getting lost on tour. And I just love those guys. And I thought they were the coolest guys. And they are all brilliant comics. But now I'm older, there's only some comics can live that life.
Yeah.
Like when you're a young comic, you think, well, I want to be one of them cool fucking getting smashed. And like those guys, there's always those outliers that can do it like that. Many good comics have got to go down the gears and just chill out and just find their norm. And for me, it's like I need a bit of a regular life. I need to sleep a lot, but I also need a night out where I get pissed. I need to be hungover. Some people just can't do it at all, but those real rock and roll guys, I mean, not that they're out of control, but when you're young, I thought I was going to be like that. And I quickly worked out that I needed to be in my bed, sleeping at least some of the time. Those guys could keep going.
I think when you're a young comic, you're sort of on that lifestyle anyway, naturally, because you're in your early years, especially me and you started so young. So that lifestyle seems attractive. And because you're so young, and when you are 18 to 23, 24, you feel like you're always going to enjoy that lifestyle. So watching people 35 and 40 doing the exact same thing that you're doing, you go, oh, I can do this forever. But then you get to that age and you're like, oh, maybe they were actually a bit sad.
I got to my late 20s and I started looking up to different comics because my 20s was loads of fun, gigged throughout. Started when I was 20. I was a pro comic by 22, 23. I went all over the place, saw a bit of the world, gigged all around the country. And the people that I held on a pedestal, it changed. It changed to, I remember just watching guys like Rob Rouse work and Rob Rouse was a fucking brilliant comic who's maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than me. He's got an amazing family. He's a great comic. And on a night out, Rob Rouse would be so much fun. You just don't have Rob Rouse on a night out very much because he's got his family. And I've seen, and maybe I've been this guy at points before I met Laura particularly, I've seen moments that you maybe have to be a comic or you have to be pretty perceptive to notice real loneliness, what it looks like for a road comic who's on the road, single, a bit pissed, chasing girls, chasing women after a bar. It's not really working out. They're around people that they don't fucking know and they're becoming best friends with some fucking open spot who's come to see them, who knows a coke dealer. And like, they're like, oh, where are we going? And you're like, dude, you're 43 and you've definitely got a 9-year-old kid and what are we doing? And I never saw that when I was 22. No. I never saw it because
you were just like, oh my God, he's 43, he's got a 9-year-old kid and he's still out. Wow.
I probably didn't even know he had a kid.
And if that's you, genuinely for me, I'm like, if you're happy, great, but I don't necessarily see a lot of joy in that lifestyle when you get to a certain point.
I've seen it done well. I've seen it done well by a lot of guys, but I've also seen that moment where you're like, you haven't learned the other gears. There's nothing wrong with going for a fucking booze after a gig, and I do it, and I don't mind drinking with punters, but it's the ones who can only do that. You're like, just fucking go home, mate. Just go home. Be comfortable in your skin to not be trying to get laid by some fucking girl 15 years younger than you every night. That thing of not being comfortable enough in your own skin to just go and chill out is brutal for some people.
Yeah. So to conclude, get some smack. I'll be fine.
Or get some smack.
Yeah.
Smack, brasses, or Nightingale.